Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by AcousticHealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. In this episode, we are going to listen to the sonic frequencies of sound healing and music tuned to 432 hertz. Not only is this a Solfeggio tone frequency, but it is a frequency that was changed in modern times to 440 hertz. First, experience this sound healing song, Golden Consciousness, which carries the frequencies of the sun. We are listening to sound healing vibrations and can instantly feel the shift back to our true self. We can feel how music does this. My guest today is here to share a sonic healing message and talk about the frequencies of music. Ted Winslow is a pioneer in sound healing, and he's here on Quantum Conversations. Ted, thank you for being here. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm greatly honored to be here.
The song we were listening to at the beginning of this program, so beautiful, Golden Consciousness, and it is the frequency of the sun. What is it about this song that really, truly connects us on a much deeper level within?
Well, it's tapping into all that is the consciousness with us. And if you think that this is off of my album that is Solfeggio Planetary Frequencies, and the sun is what we all need to sustain our way of life. It is our main source of energy that we're bringing into us for plant life, for all sorts of life, and it's heating us on the daily basis and bringing in the golden consciousness that we become more attuned and more aware to what it is that we're going with the higher vibrations towards life. That's what that track was for me when I was bringing that out and writing that.
Well, beautiful. We all on this program connect with the sun and beyond the Son of Suns, so that was extraordinary. No wonder we could feel that beautiful shift and centering with that song. You spoke of the Solfeggio planetary frequencies. We're going to talk about the Solfeggio tones and the 432 hertz of tuning our instruments to 432 hertz versus 440. We're going to get there in a moment, but first we want to talk about you. You are a musician. This is your life calling and your purpose. How did you tap into it? Were you always aware of this, or did something happen along the way? Please share that story.
Well, it's a constant process of evolution that I'm going through. I was always fascinated with music at an early age, and I was playing anything that I could get my hands onto, from drums to violin, before getting serious with the guitars and the bass. And after I left high school, I attended the University of Colorado, where not only was I a student, but in my spare time of not doing my studies and attending school, I was also a studio musician and entertaining record companies with an original band that I was with, back in the glory days of the 80s, trying to seek that golden contract of the day. I was constantly performing, and with that, I decided to change my degree and take a different approach to it with my education, and I changed it to technical engineering. I still minored with voice and still, of course, was working as a studio musician. And it was a special time at that point with my music career, because I was developing and entering into a new age where old technology and recording standards and music theories of music were kind of meeting new. And being at that cutting edge of all of that, I got to explore many aspects of frequencies and sound frequencies. And I started seeing their shapes that they were creating in my mind. And that I was finding that through some of these experimentations that I was doing, is I was finding ways that I could now bend the traditional aspects of music in ways that had never been done before with this technology. So I fast forward, and I meet my wife, and just happened to be a healer as well. And she was playing in one of her healing practices what was kind of, quote, healing music. My ears kind of interpreted this music that it sounded like bad elevator music.
Oh.
And so it was about 15 years ago that I started to develop this with the brand of music that I've developed today, which is SOUNDSYNCTECH, and exploring the tunings and the frequencies. So in 2009, I'm working with the corporate world. I kind of was dabbling around in and out of music with my businesses, and I got the message that it was time to take a spiritual journey. Well, this spiritual journey that had such a profound effect on me was, in short, a 5,000-mile motorcycle ride that was from here in Colorado, where I started, where I live, up to Alaska and back. And I did it in 12 days. And it was just all this download of information that I had that was coming in. And I got the message for what I needed to do. And I left the corporate world. I left the job. I left everything with the bands and everything to journey out on my own and start recording these frequencies and these compositions and just studying anything and everything that I could get my hands on. So that was kind of the breaking point for me on how I got to here.
It is so fascinating, isn't it? Because that 2009, those are the years leading up to 2012. And I have personally witnessed so many people in that time period. Even now, people are still continuing to wake up, but those were pivotal years. And you listened to the calling of your heart. You got the message. You tapped into your multidimensional self. And here you are bringing forth these frequencies. So I just want to thank you for stepping up to your mission. It is not easy. It takes a leap of faith. But wouldn't you say that once you've done that, you are fully supported?
Absolutely. There's not a day that goes by that I look at it when I made that change and that mindset then to do that. And at this point, I've been fortunate enough to have a few albums which are on Amazon as bestsellers. I've been able to work with a variety of companies, not only here in the States, but internationally. And I've been able to still continue to develop on some of the cutting edges of new technologies and playing with a variety of scientific instruments, which in turn has led me to be able to give this true scientific testing that we have on my websites with my music. So it's a blessing. I mean, it is.
Beautiful. Okay, so I just want to jump back here. You went to the University of Colorado in the 80s. What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 93.
All right. I graduated in 88, so perhaps we passed each other somewhere on campus.
I'm sure we did. Go Buffs.
Okay, beautiful. Well, you learned a lot about in the technical engineering. Here you are, you've got this scientific background, the scientific curiosity with the creativity of the heart. So now you are exploring the frequencies and you have a company, SOUNDSYNCTECH.
Well, with SOUNDSYNCTECH, it's basically a customized brainwave technology that I've developed through Binaural Beats. It's applicable into my compositions that I'm doing, the tunings of those compositions, and then the state-of-the-art of the recording technologies in these frequencies with this. And through the process, as I was doing the compositions and incorporating it, I could see that we are creating basically the next generation of sound healing or sound frequency. And I was bringing in theta and alpha frequencies because, as we know, it's associated with the various mental states. So with these frequencies and listening to the music, we can now coax our brain waves into certain frequencies, and in doing so, we're achieving a mental state that's going to be associated with those frequencies. It's changing our vibration. We can influence the function of the brain in ways besides that's relating to the hearing. And through this process that I've been doing, it's kind of like a frequency following response. Theta, the theta state, as we talked about, golden consciousness is bringing that in. Theta is going to be the border that's between our conscious and our subconscious world. And studies are showing that in the states of consciousness, we can access and influence the powerful subconscious parts of ourselves that's normally inaccessible to our waking minds. And the benefits that we're seeing are optimal range for visualization, mind programming using the creative power of where the mind begins. And it's a mental state where we're consciously creating our realities. To quote the great Nikola Tesla, if you want to think of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And these are things that I was finding through normal, I retract normal, through popular music, is that for the past century or so, we've been recording everything at the same frequency. And it's been all at 440. So with SOUNDSYNCTECH, I'm incorporating all these different, 440 meaning it's 440 hertz, which is vibrations per second. It's otherwise termed is standard A tuning. And that tuning is a very dissonant tuning when you get down and start playing with other tunings. So, and I mean, I can go so many different ways with that.
Yeah, dissonant. Talk a little bit more about that. You said dissonant. I mean, that word right there, it's not coherent.
Right. Dissonant is I like to term it that it's kind of like the fight or flight frequency.
Ah.
So when you're listening to, and here's a great practical application that they use this. Every day we're listening to either the radio or the television sets on, and they're always coming through and subliminally reprogramming our brain with these advertisements with this dissonant tuning of a frequency, and it's like putting us in a state of anxiety. It's like the insurance salesman that you have to sit down and buy the insurance from, but he's selling it to you on a fear-based. You're going to be in a crash. You're going to expire.
Yes.
What's going to happen if you don't have this health insurance coverage? You're going to be in despair. And now you've got this fight or flight frequency. And then you can go into Golden Consciousness or any of my other albums. And in a matter of minutes, you can get out of that frequency. I kind of call that 440 sound hating frequency, because it's not a healing frequency. It creates a tension inside of our bodies, which you think our bodies, water is a frequency that impacts life, and our bodies are 70-75% water, and our brain and heart are about 73. Energy is transferred through the vibration of water. We know that in Dr. Emoto's best-selling, author, The Hidden Messages of Water. So that's where I kind of come from, that I don't do my music in 440. I can see the changes where it's at, and it's almost been institutionalized through the music industry. And look at what the music industry looks like now. You can go back before 440 and you look at great composers such as Bach and Haydn, Mendelssohn, Beethoven, Mozart, and they were doing various tunings to their instruments when they were doing their sacred and secular, writing those compositions for their music.
They knew that, so they used to tune at 432 hertz. Again, that's the beautiful frequency, and this could lead our conversation into the negative forces that have hijacked this musical frequency, making it standard across the board to tune to a standard A of 440 hertz.
Yeah.
But the 432 hertz, it's just off by a little bit, but yet that changes the frequency. So this is really important, and we can hear that in your music. And that is entrainment. This is what we know of as entrainment.
Exactly.
Okay, so with new frequencies coming in, what about gamma? Have you experimented with that yet?
I have not experimented too much with the gamma frequencies. It's everything that's going to be basically greater than 40 hertz, which is going to be a high mental activity. And I know it's something I'm going to definitely start to play with, because it's high in problem solving and with our perception. So the journey that I had was working mainly with the theta and the alpha, because as I explained, the theta alpha waves is the normal activity of the brain when we're conscious and relaxed. So that's going to be associated with the relaxed alertness, enhanced learning, creativity, peak performance, imagination and visualization, and intuition. And I'm focusing on this aspect right now because of the results that I'm seeing and the demand that I have with my music.
Well, beautiful. Okay, and those are the important brain states, the alpha and the theta. So we are able to reprogram our mental state, our subconscious. So let's hear a sample of your music. We've got the first one here, Freedom Journey. Before we play this, let's talk a little bit about solfeggio tones, because this is at a specific frequency.
Yes. So Freedom Journey, this song is at 528 hertz. And 528 hertz, Russian scientists have been able to show that it's been able to help change with our DNA and for our reprogramming with that. It's also known as what's called the frequency of love. So Freedom Journey on this one was on my album that I just released called Sovereignty. And it frees us from the everyday binds, just what I was talking about, that are by design meant to keep us preoccupied from becoming our true self, becoming our true being, becoming our true light. And it breaks us free from past lives where we may have been taken, or we have taken an oath, or where we've been forced into some type of servitude of others, and to break free of that and come into our own being and existence and light, and being the true, just being that true light that we are.
Beautiful. So let's listen. We have about a 60-second clip here. Already feeling the shift in that and the brainwave entrainment. Absolutely beautiful. It does make you very happy, and the word liberation comes to mind. Also, the way these are produced through the speakers on my computer, there was such a richness. It was literally vibrating my desk. And so this music is good to have in your house and all around you all the time. It really will change your frequency. Something like this, was this in an alpha state? Because it was a very alert feeling.
This one, yes, exactly. It actually, the frequency, I'm going to explain a little bit. The frequency is 528 hertz per second. And then I incorporate not only the alpha waves that are in that, but I incorporate theta waves as well. And this is done through the binaural process and through what this technology, SOUNDSYNCTECH, that I put it into. And that way it's waking up the brain and stimulating on both the right and the left side. And I like to think of that like an athlete who uses both sides of his body to make them a better athlete. You know, like football players, what you catch on your right side, we're going to force you to start catching on that left side. Or those in martial arts, they have a big energy release. It's called a kia that builds up energy. And once they build that energy and they do that kia, and then they let it loose, they're back into a relaxed state. And so that's where I've been developing by putting both the theta and the alpha to bring us down. The reason being is that going through the day with all this fight or flight stimulation around us, being at work where we might be doing a great job, we're not getting the good accolades that we probably should, or the attaboys, the family trauma and drama that we're going through, at what point can we get our bodies back to that natural state of resting and tapping back into that subconscious reprogramming and really changing everything and manifesting and bringing in? It's a natural healing process on its own. It can make that change in about a matter of 6 minutes, sometimes even faster.
Very interesting how music is so powerful. So thank you for this beautiful work. The Solfeggio frequencies, these are very interesting. What I find fascinating is they're very ancient. They've been used in our lineage, and they all reduce to a number 3, 6, or 9. That right there tells us something beyond our knowingness here in the physical realm. Can you share a little bit more about the Solfeggio tones?
Sure. Solfeggio is, in short, it's a mathematical formula which is of universal frequencies that are derived and consist of sacred geometry and sacred numerology. And these frequencies have been found to have a profound effect on our health and our wellness, especially in this third dimensional world in which we live in. Now, the main part where it started is that there was 6 secret solfeggio frequencies. And they're related and have been hidden for many years. We can find them being mentioned in both the Bible and in the Torah in Numbers, and they've been linked to the hymn of John the Baptist. And we know it's ut, re, mi. Now I want to stop on mi because that's the third scale of them, which is 528. That's the one that we just played from Freedom Journey, 528, me, am I, which I found interesting enough that it's the miracle for DNA repair. MI is short for miracles, which I think is the miracle frequency. And so, it's coincidence. I don't know, but we have it was ut re mi fa lo sa, fa sol la. I'm sorry, which sounds pretty similar to the do re mi fa sol la ti do. And these were the frequencies that basically made up that. They're mathematically related to plants, to the stars, to the galaxy, which you think with what we know in this world, in this lifetime, with these universe and the galaxies, we can account to about 4.9% of our universe of all of this that we're seeing here. That's like being on a 5-yard line of a football field. And I'm expanding to see where it goes out a little bit further from there. Frequencies. Now, I want to talk a little bit here and come back to why it's kind of important. The godfather who found all of this, it was around 500 BC, was Pythagoras. And Pythagoras is running around through Mesopotamia, Babylon, Assyria, Egypt, and whichever place he's going through, he hears the sound of a hammer hitting an anvil. And he starts hearing these pitches. In his mind, he runs home and he creates the first modern day guitar. It's actually a monochord. As a guitar player, I like to say I credit him. But he creates the first monochord, and he starts finding all these pitches and how they're harmonically related and how they're apart from each other. So this was 500 BC. He's playing with this. And as I sit here and look at all these different frequencies of recording, it's the difference between making a reference back to the 440 that we're stuck on. I'm looking at the 440 hertz. And that's like looking out and seeing green, when just the color green with our eyes. And when I started playing with the palette of all these other frequencies, they're all going to be at different tunings. That you have to tune the instruments to that specific tuning. It's going to be related to, in that tuning, a certain musical note. There are 7 notes in a musical scale, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And if you think about it, there are 7 colors, now coming back to the universal thing, 7 colors that we're looking at in a rainbow: red, yellow, blue, green, violet, orange, and indigo. And so that's where I'm kind of thinking that we take the 6 solfeggio frequencies that have been around, that we've been kind of working with those, and now we're opening up the universe of many more frequencies that we're just now being able to start getting to tap into, that is going to be a whole palette of colors, just as we see.
Yes, okay, you're bringing in the frequencies of color.
Yes.
As we expand those frequencies. So how do you must, because you can see how these sounds were creating shapes. So as you create your music, do you set any intentions? What kind of space do you get in so that you can connect? And how do you bring that forth? Just listening and feeling?
It's like everything. I mean,
everything.
All of us who are creators, you could be woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning and start writing it down, to you could be like, I can't do anything right now, and sitting down and playing one note on a piano, to clanging a metal pan in the kitchen, and it starts from there, and then just go through all the possibilities. And then I have to see, what was that? What was the note? What's that frequency? And then it just blows up.
Okay, so you're really being in your joy and your presence. Are you constantly recording in case you catch something good?
Yeah, I have people that are, because I like to practice. Practice is like my sacred place. And
Yeah, play.
and people are recording me as I practice and going, you have to write this. You have to do that. And it's the point of creativity that I come from. It's good that they do that, because sometimes I can't go back and play what it was that just came out of me at that point in time. So I'm always in the studio. I love it in the studio. It's my home. I never get tired of it. I've got a commercial recording studio that luckily I can close the door behind me and go home and be a normal dad and a normal husband, because it's so hard to put it down sometimes.
Yeah, your playroom, it's really the heart of your creativity. Again, it's just so beautiful to see that you can express it and be supported in that. All right, we're going to talk in just a moment about how we can change our mind and program our mind with this music. I wanted to talk a little bit about, you had mentioned your wife is a healer. Are there healing instruments that you prefer to work with? Are these mostly on a synthesizer, or do you bring other outside instruments in to the studio?
I do bring other instruments in the studio. I've got a variety of synthesizers. I play drums. I've got a variety of drums, guitars to fretless to 12 strings to 5-string bass guitars, violins, and compositions, and then just kind of composing from there. One of the main things that I've used for scientifically showing how it's making the change, because we know when we listen to the music, like you'd said, I could feel the change that was coming right there off of Freedom Journey. And we know that I knew when I was going down this path in the beginning that we could feel it. You could do muscle testing. You could do all sorts of different holistic approaches to it. And I got lucky that I was contacted through he's a doctor out of the University in St. Petersburg who's been working with groundbreaking technologies through biophotonic imaging. So we get connected with each other, and he knows that I'm a techie. So not only do I just play with music instruments, I do a lot of production and playing with the technologies to see where I can kind of bend these rules, so to speak. And he has me in to play with this biophotonic imaging system that is now measuring the human energy field. And that's, I've got some videos that'll show before and after. So the results and testimonials have a profound impact on us getting out of the fight or flight stage to listening to these sound frequencies that I'm creating through these compositions and tones and whatnot.
So what happens on the imaging? What changes do you see then that validates all of the music that you create?
You know, it's a convergence of photonics and of life sciences. So you can measure somebody's human energy field being at a stressful point. And okay, let me give an example on this one. I had a client come in, and I was working on one of my albums was vocal toning with the angels. So I've normally had clients come in, put headphones on them, let them listen to it, and then we would do a test before and a test after. I wanted to see what the voice. We know that the voice is one of the most powerful sound healing instruments that we have. Just most of us are afraid to use it, or when to use it that's the appropriate time to get out of these frequencies, the negative frequencies. So the client comes in and she's having a really bad day, and I didn't know it. And she doesn't want to sing. I didn't know that either. And I put her in front of a microphone and put headphones on her. I'm like, okay, well, first I tested her, put her on the microphone and say, okay, go, we're going to sing 2 tracks. And she just was like, not going to have it. And I'm like, oh, I've blown this study. How can I show what this voice is going to be able to do? And so she coaxed her into talking to it. She starts singing with it, but she's singing about her job. I hate work. I can't stand this. I hate that. And I'm going, I've lost it. There's nothing but negative coming out. Well, she finishes it. We sit her down. We go ahead and run a test on her again, and her energy levels came down. I mean, her stress levels came down, but her energy levels actually increased. And I'm not talking about the energy levels. It's like I'm going to pound a Red Bull and a cup of coffee and I'm going to go out and hit the gym really hard. It's a whole different energy of bringing it inside. It's like that key up that I was talking about a little bit earlier.
It's the higher frequencies, and they are elevating, and we are vibrating faster. So that shows up as higher energy, but not aggressive energy like Red Bull.
Exactly.
That's cool. Well, you mentioned something there. The voice is the most powerful sound healing tool that we have. Isn't that funny? We were just chatting about my son who broke his collarbone yesterday, and I heard him singing in his room just naturally, and that truly is what he knows to do within himself that is helping that energy in that broken collarbone.
You've already been bringing this out of him and teaching him along the way.
Don't let him know that I told him that.
Never. We just smile and nod our head in a vertical fashion.
Okay, so the voice is the most powerful sound healing tool that we have. So many light workers and people feel the need just to begin toning. So tell us a little bit more about toning, and then more about vocal toning with the angels.
Well, vocal toning is it's a natural way that we're able to go through and change our vibration, get more in tune with ourselves, with where we're at. We can totally raise our vibrations really fast on that. So I realized with dealing with the frequencies of these angels that we could do them in the angelic frequencies, right? So we have 111, 222, 333, 444, and we're toning with our intentions to that. You can start your intention and allow yourself and others to resonate there, such as that you want to raise this vibration and be at peace, or you can do it for a performance. Like if there's a singer that's going to go out and do a performance, sometimes when I've gone out to go sing, I would go ahead and do toning beforehand. And it's just a matter of being able to go through and use our body and as its own unique instrument. And through doing that, we're focusing on this resonance that we're creating with it. And it's dealing with our chest. It's dealing with our throat. It's dealing with the skull, the jawbone, the rest of the bones, the water chemical composition that we have that's in there. And so it's entraining us, but us doing it with the way that we wanted to.
Let's go ahead and listen to another sample here. This one is again from the Sovereignty album. This is Illuminated Truth. Again, we can feel these frequencies embedded in this beautiful music. Ted Winslow, share more on the motivation behind creating this piece.
Illuminated Truth is at 334 hertz. And this track for me, it's about shining into the darkness of who we are and what we are to become. And it's kind of about no longer having to hide, no longer allowing others to penetrate through that. And it's shining the light on that for our greater selves, into the ability and to step forward in this time and bringing it into a higher frequency, just not only with us and influencing those around us, but all over the world. So it's illuminating that truth, to illuminate that which may be in the dark, or maybe in the darkness that is trying to hide.
Yes, okay. And what a powerful time for this, too, to really come forward with our truth. We've been talking a lot about that, speaking our authentic truth no matter what, and truly helping change on our planet right now. So when we're talking about change and doing this inner change and changing our mind and our subconscious, how can people use your music? There's a lot of information on neuroplasticity coming out, really creating new brain patterns, but it does go into the subconscious mind that we have to clean up as well. So how can we use your music to assist with this?
Well, there's many ways to assist with it. We can sit down to set our intentions for what we want to accomplish, for that which we want to go out and after. You can use it at work or to relax pets or children. We had a client one time call in and was saying that they had an unwanted guest at their house. So with the holidays coming up, if we've got some in-laws that might be a little less than desirable at times, play that in the background. You can change it with that. People are listening to it when they're having energy work done. You can listen to it while you sleep. I had a woman come back from gambling in Las Vegas. She was a 70-year-old, and you can imagine that her energy levels and chakras were much smaller. That when she listened to it and came back, I tested her right off the plane and then had her listen to angelic sound healing, and then had her go to sleep listening to it. So you can change it that way with your intentions.
Yes, okay, beautiful. We are happy to say that you've got a beautiful special offer for listeners. It does include tracks with Solfeggio healing frequencies. We invite our listeners to check that out. Share with us a little bit about each of these items and how people can use them.
Okay. One thing I want to discuss real quick, I know that we're running short on time, is that through these frequencies, we have developed a product that's going to be called Alchemy of the Mind. And my wife, she's a trained master hypnotist and is a master with words and meanings and understanding how that they should or could be used. So like I described earlier, on a daily basis, we're being reprogrammed with worry, anxiety, fear, stress, and feeling bad. And through my development with SOUNDSYNCTECH, we've created this program that's a 90-day Alchemy of the Mind program that's going to take us at your own, you can take it at your own pace, to clear away energetically, work with your subconscious mind, and entrain your body with these healing frequencies. And it's going to consist of an introduction and an easy-to-follow instructions, a guided meditation, healing of the Solfeggio frequencies, binaural beats with the alpha theta frequencies, subliminal consciousness reprogramming, energy clearing and declarations, intention setting, and journaling. And you're going to be able to receive a free gift of Solfeggio music with it. And so the first one that we're doing is that with this that you get is ancestral healing and clearing to create your dream life. And it changes the limitations that we have locked into our DNA from ancestral programming, and to work with our subconscious mind to transform limiting beliefs so that we have more ease in creating the life that we desire.
Yeah, that goes deep. It's interesting that we, on a cellular level, that we have the DNA or the belief systems, limiting belief systems, literally programmed into our bodies. Interesting how we can use this and really get down to it. Is it the frequencies with guided meditations?
Correct. So we've got not only there's clearing statements that are going to be in there that we can use for getting rid of this. It's epigenetics, and so we have like 14 generations of stuff that we're carrying with us. And through this, we're clearing away all of that we don't need, because there's some bad stuff that we don't need. And just we're in a different time than where we were. And we've got there's a booklet that's going to come with it that's going to explain it more, because I know that we're short and on the time with this. And it's going to be able to clear away with that. And then we've got statements to bring back in more that we need to fill into our life.
Affirmations that then replace the subconscious programming.
Exactly.
Yeah, good. Well, powerful work that you're doing here with the frequencies, the exercises, the affirmations, the meditations. I want to call it like a 90-day challenge. That really is changing the mind. So thank you. That's very interesting. And you mentioned binaural beats. Some might not know what those are, but that has been scientifically demonstrated that the brain does sync up, or it balances out. Talk a little bit about what's going on with binaural beats.
Binaural beats is going to be influencing both sides of the brain. So it's tapping into both that right hemisphere and it's tapping into that left hemisphere. And it helps to move us out of the energetic blockages that we might have taken on. It's been shown to be linked to higher learning, and it allows us to be conscious of our higher self. So it's breaking through to the subconscious and waking up that part of our brain that might not be quite yet awake, that might be stuck with the 440, so that we're not being the creative individuals and reaching our fullest potentials that we can. And through that process, it's entraining our bodies again. Through this, we've seen that our bodies are encoded, and we're self-healers and self-regenerators, and it's able to help us to eliminate the negative thoughts and the negative feelings. Our bodies are like a big chest, and when we start stuffing everything into it that's all bad and negative, how do we get rid of it? And this is one way that we're showing through the studies that it's going to elevate our moods. It's going to be easing or the cessation of depression and other mental disorders, so that we're accessing our true consciousness.
Yes, and so we're actually changing the field in our environment, raising that vibration, which that will raise our internal vibration, and elevating our moods. That's exactly where we need to be. And it's interesting, when some of this music comes about and we listen to it, it could be cathartic in the way that emotions could come up to be cleared and cleansed, or images or visions of the past or hurtful situations could come up. And then on the flip side, also new inspiration comes in because of that higher vibration as well. Have you witnessed that in your own life, or others, people listening to your music?
Oh, repeatedly. Every day it's amazing with what I receive. I had a mother, a mother contacted me, and her son had a stroke. And she started playing my music right away and swears that she thinks that it helped her son not to have another stroke, to get to healing and getting out of that. I had a firefighter one time was listening to me, and he was on ground zero for like 15 weeks out there. And the traumatic events that had affected him could not shake them free and get out of that. And he started listening to my music and changed his life. He used to not be able to sleep at night. People are finding that they can now sleep at night much better to get to that restful space. I say play it with the food. We put food in our body. We're changing the frequency of the food that we eat. A funny one. I nothing against dentists, but I kind of don't really particularly like going to the dentist. I can hear that pitch of the drill as I just even talk about it. And she was listening to one of my shows going, okay, this is whatever. She's about to turn it off. Well, she now downloaded one of my albums and listens to it on her breaks in the dental chair. And I just on and on and on and on and on with the stories that are on that. Because the body thirsts for these frequencies. I call it like a smoothie analogy. We know that if we drink a carrot juice or apple juice that's going to be good for us. All these frequencies that I'm creating and coming in have a profound effect on us. And it's like a full smoothie that you're going to have the turmeric, you're going to have the apple, the pineapple, the cilantro, the parsley, all of that that's going to be good for us, and drink it up.
All tuned at 432 hertz, which is a very beautiful, coherent frequency. Beautiful. Let's take a listen to Earth Initiation. Tell us about Earth Initiation before we hear that clip.
Earth Initiation is at 741 hertz, and it's all about our progress here on Earth, where we've been, where we are going, and how we're treating Mother Earth. We think about her, she's really the goddess that's beneath our feet, and we live in her vibration. Our bodies are in tune to her vibration. And we will continue to eat and drink, breathe, see, and feel all that she has to offer. And we can change that of the negative vibrations to which is going to be less damaging to her. And that's what that track is all about.
Okay, so we dedicate this to Gaia, Mother Earth. Let's listen. We can feel the beauty and the vibration of Mother Earth in that song, Earth Initiation. Another beautiful one from Ted Winslow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to give you a moment to talk a little bit about each of the albums in your special offer. There's a few of them, but you can share just briefly on each.
Okay. We've got the Alchemy of the Mind, which is going to be the ancestral healing and clearing to create your dream life. And according to studies of epigenetics, the scientists have proven that our DNA is holding thoughts, feelings, traumas, emotions, illnesses, fears of 14 generations before us. And that equates to over 8,000 relatives with generations dating back to the 1500s, 1600s. And it's time to energetically clear that encoding that might be holding us back. And this one was created with that 432 Solfeggio frequency, which is the universal frequency. It vibrates the principles, what's known as the golden mean or pi, which is derived through mathematics, geometry, numerical series. I'm going off the topic here. I apologize with that. So we've got a subliminal recording. We've got the first recording that's going to be doing clearing statements. And then we've got that at a subliminal level as well. So there's a booklet that's going to accompany it that you can read that as well as you're listening to it. And then you've also got the music that you can listen to behind it. Then we've got the affirmations and intentions, which is a whole nother set of statements that are coming in with the music. That's going to be subliminal as well, so that we can encode your brain, listen to it when you're sleeping in the background. And then a lot of people like just the music. We've got just the music that's with that as well. And then we've got Sovereignty, my latest album, about freedom. It's time that we free ourselves of all these energetic blockages and these binds that we have that we're going through with here on Earth. And then there's a booklet, an ebook that's going to go with it, that's going to accompany it, that's got all sorts of things that you can try write out intentions, and it has descriptions in there as well.
Beautiful. Of course, that special offer is located on this webpage. Check it out and surround yourself with 432 hertz frequencies and higher frequencies. Ted Winslow, so important the work that you are doing. Keep up the good work. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
Just want to say thank you so much for all your time and the energy and that you do to inspire us through what you do in all of your work and having me on your show today.
Well, thank you, Ted. Beautiful work. And also thank you for helping so many people sleep better, too. Wonderful.
Love and high vibrations.
And now it's time to dance our way to the cosmic heart, and we'll experience more of this high vibrational 432 hertz tuned music by Ted Winslow. All of this music you are about to hear is available in Ted's special offer on this webpage. Enjoy. Thank you for listening, and thank you for dancing with us in our collective intentions as they go across the universe to the cosmic heart. I'd like to thank my wonderful team at acoustichealth.com, Heidi, Tony, Tom, Pam, Suzanne, and Garner, who assist with the production of Quantum Conversations, online healing retreats, and more. And thank you, too, for listening. If you've enjoyed this program, please share it with your friends and loved ones. And we thank you for shining your magnificent light and adding it to the world. This is when we love ourselves like no one else can. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe, as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music, available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste. Thank you too for listening and sharing in this space today. We leave you now with music from the universe, literally sacred geometry of music, as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music, available at acoustichealth.com.